take you there. I'll take you. Heaven is a place on earth. Heaven is a place on you. Heaven is a place on you.
Hey, my name's Remel London, and I have the absolute pleasure to be hosting, on behalf of the founder of In Other News, the amazing Candace Oxley. How are you?
I'm good, Remel. How are you?
I'm very, very good. To be honest, it's an honor to be asked to host on your platform.
Well, first of all, it was an honor for you to say yes.
Oh, thanks.
Because for everybody knows, for a number of reasons, it's an honor for Remel to do this. So yeah, I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. I
very
mean,
much.
I've been a guest on your show a few times. I'm going to say this on camera as well. My fiance said, you are the reason that we are now engaged, because your relationship podcast was so integral to our growing experience. So thank
guys,
you.
I mean,
thank you.
Girl, I got you. Do you know why that's so funny? When I think about relationships, I've actually had, now you'll be the third couple that have said something about my involvement in getting them to the next stage.
Wow.
So Armani,
Yes.
I introduced him to his who's now wife.
Wow.
So that's 100% success rate.
I love it.
That's 100%. Then two of my other friends I've match made. They didn't quite get to where I hoped they'd get to, but they're now like the best of friends.
Oh my
so I feel like
gosh.
that was like a 70% success rate.
Yes.
And now, I didn't know you guys before you were dating, but I feel like now you're at like 80%.
Apparently, your conversation and your questions made him realize that I am the woman that he needed. So thank you, girl. Clearly, the conversations that you're having are very, very important. And that kind of goes to my first question. In Other News, great platform. Why did you decide to create it?
Initially, I decided to create it because I felt like, in terms of news coverage, everything was negative across the board.
Yeah.
Like when I looked at news when it came to black people, it was even more negative.
Right.
And I felt like the depiction of Black Britain and just black people in general was really one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Both in terms of success and what we look like and how we exist in this country. I also looked at people I knew and thought, this person is sick.
Yeah.
Like, why does no one know that this person is doing this? Or like, why does no one know that this is happening? And I thought, do you know what, let me capitalize on the people I already know.
Yes.
So I started to write interviews and interview like my friends.
Yeah.
So some of my first interviews were one of my best friends, Shamida Donaldson, the founder of Treasure Tress, stencilist and artist Kelvin Okafor, who literally draws pictures in pencil.
Oh, wow.
And it's absolutely stunning. Two ladies, Anna and Susanna, that run Anna 7 London, which is a faith-based clothing brand, and some people that just really bought into the vision, which was I wanted to shine a positive light on what it means to be Black British.
Yes.
I feel like Black Britain has had a bit of a bad rep in terms of creating its own identity, because we've looked to the States for so much.
100%, yeah.
And I felt like it's actually really different to be Black British than it is to be Black American.
Yeah.
And I think that experience from a positive standpoint is worth sharing.
Definitely, thank you for that. And like you said, you've introduced the world to not only your friends, but incredible entrepreneurs and businesswomen and men. And of course, we spoke about having relationship talks. You keep it real in Other News. So, are there any standout interviews where you're like, yo, I'm so glad I got that, or I didn't expect to hear that, anything like that?
There's been a few. I think every interview has its own standout moment.
Right.
So even, for example, the relationship conversation, we had to do that. I had to release that in 2 parts because there was just so much in that. People can generally talk about relationships forever.
Yeah, of course.
But I think the nuance of Black love is really interesting.
Yes.
And it was really interesting to also talk to 3 couples at completely different stages in their relationship.
Yeah.
So you and Corey at the time were girlfriend and boyfriend.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And then I had an engaged couple, Rez and Jade, and then a married couple, Armani and Ashley. And kind of just hearing, first of all, what was really heartwarming, and I'm hoping that everyone that listened to it took away was that actually you can find love in so many different ways.
Definitely.
Because every single story is so different.
Yep.
I was like, wow, it really doesn't have a blueprint. It really doesn't have a blueprint. Your story is nuts. You lot didn't like each other. It's a madness. It is actually a madness.
Y'all know to listen back because it's a good chat.
Literally. And then we talked about just the importance of black love as well, which I think is a really important conversation. The other conversation we had with the girls from BBA.
Yes.
I can't give you away what that means.
Are you going to explain?
I can't.
Go back to the files, listen to the podcast.
That one, literally, we, just for context, 5 of us went to LA for 5 days. Six of us went to LA for 5 days. And for the most part, most of us met on that trip.
Definitely. We met in the Airbnb.
Yeah, literally. And I was thinking about it this morning. I was thinking, what was my first impression of Remel when I first met her? And I thought, wow, this girl is so stunning and she is so tall.
Oh. That is jokes.
I thought, wow, this girl is really stunning. She's so tall. But yeah, like even that I think is telling to just how relationships can be built organically in loads of different ways. I think also another standout conversation for me has to be around self-love. So last year, the theme for mental health awareness was something around self-care. So I spoke to lots of different people, both men and women, whose work speaks to self-care in some way. So I spoke to a makeup artist, Siobhan Gowdy. I spoke to a woman that works with young girls, so my friend Danielle Ennis. And then men-wise, I spoke to a PT, my old PT at the time. And that was really nice to hear just what self-care and like upkeep looks like for so many people. There's just, I can't even name one. There's just been so many moments that make me think.
What even number podcast are you on?
Now I think this might be episode 30.
Oh my gosh, because the consistency is what I love.
I've tried.
Right, so we are talking about amazing people in the industry, but for you personally, Candace, what does success look like to you?
It actually looks like peace of mind.
Oh, I like that.
It does. It looks like just peace of mind, and that comes from not worrying about like how anything's going to happen. So that comes from peace of mind in terms of finance, peace of mind in terms of relationships, peace of mind in terms of career. And I think out of that comes everything else.
Definitely.
And doing things, I know a lot of the time we talk about like, do things that make you happy. Which I agree with. I think do things that make you happy, do things that bring you joy, but also believe that you should do things that make you feel at peace.
Right.
So like you're making a decision that you feel like, do you know what, I'm at peace with this decision. I feel like I made the right decision. I would not make it another decision on another occasion. This is how I feel about this situation. And I think because we're so focused on success looking like a big house and a nice car and this, and don't get me wrong, these things are also nice.
Of course, we want them.
But I think for me, it starts with being at peace with yourself and just with life in general. And then, as I said, out of that. And I feel like also from a faith perspective, like out of the heart, like out of the abundance of the heart, like what you think and what you like kind of where you position yourself is a natural like preceding to how your life unfolds.
Definitely.
So I think it's peace of mind. What does it look like for you?
Oh, I don't know why I knew he was going to throw this back at me. Success for me is basically, I think you touched on it a little bit, happiness. What truly makes you happy? And it's a hard one because, you know, I think you naturally think money, materialistic things, a house and all that kind of stuff is going to bring you happiness, which I agree with. But also I think it's, can you look at how you got there and can you look back at your journey and be proud of every step of the way? And I think it's that, not pride in a like, you know, gluttonous way, but like, are you happy with the journey? Are you happy that are you accepting that I had to learn at that point and I had to change a few things at that point? I think it's looking overall at the bigger picture and being like, that was fun, that was good.
Yeah, that's a good point, you know.
The journey, I'm very big on the journey. So for me, success is all about looking back at your own personal journey and just giving a little check. That was fun. Check. Oh, that was learning. Check. So, you know what I mean? Like, success is just accumulating all of those life skills and factors in my sense. And you know, there's loads more successful points I want to reach, but so far I'm like, yeah, man, it's been a good ride.
It's gonna been It's what's been the, like, would you say the most? When have you felt the most successful? Like, wow, I can't believe I did that.
I think I have to go back to my 30th birthday, and the clock
Which
stroke.
was a vibe.
You could say the same, girl. You could say the
was
same.
the vibe.
Yeah, you got to turn up on your 30th birthday, man. It's a real one. But it was literally the stroke of midnight. I partied into my birthday, and I played my anthem.
Yep.
It's still my anthem now. Toast from Coffee. And the lyrics resonate with me so much because gratitude is a must. Yay. And also, you know, you gotta thank God for the journey, the earnings, like everything about that song really resonated with me because again, I love the journey, I love the process, and I stood there looking around the room at my friends, my family, and people that have been a part of that journey, whether it's working together on a show, whether it's, you know, you're my cousin from day we grew up together, or whether my friend we had a trip together. Everybody and everything made sense at that moment.
Yes.
And I was like, you did it. You got the TV show, you got the radio show, and obviously these aren't my dream shows, but like 15-year-old me would have been like, yo, you're on TV, you got a radio show, you do all these different things. So that definitely was a moment of, it was relief, a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
So again, that's what I mean by it's a little checklist of, that was good, I enjoyed that. Look, he's there, she's there, hey. So that birthday, that night really was a big highlight for me, and like, these are the people I want to continue with. So that was beautiful for me. Success, it comes in different shapes and sizes. For me and you, it's a turn up.
Facts. Literally, like, we started the year with the ultimate enjoyment.
100%.
And I genuinely plan to continue this decade and the rest of my life with that same energy.
That same energy.
Enjoyment. Like, full enjoyment. Full enjoyment.
I love it.
Full enjoyment.
Why do you think it's taken so long for, I guess, the value of representation to really be understood? I mean, it feels like a little bit that this year it's been forced into our faces, especially after the passing of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, and a lot of conversations about who's in the building, who's in the right spaces. But for you, why do you think it's taken so long for representation to be valued?
I think because for a long time, everyone other than black people saw the world with rose-tinted glasses.
Right.
But what I now see is like a resurgence of like, okay, let's look at this from a human standpoint. And I think that's where all these conversations have to start. And I know there's been posts on socials about like, it's not necessarily a black or white issue, it's a human issue. And I think based on how the world has viewed humanity and superiority has led to just the disenfranchisement of just black lives. And in a lot of ways, I think that being exactly what you said in terms of being in the right spaces, inside the building, outside the building, behind the camera, in front of the camera, and even with that, I think in terms of being in front of the camera, black people generally are more in front of the camera than they are behind.
Definitely.
And I think being in more positions of creative authority and being in more positions of just generally being in more positions of power is really inspirational for the next generation up. Like I've always said, dependent on people's views of Barack Obama, I think being a child, a black child, and the first the first president you ever see is a black man and you're a black boy, that is nuts.
100%.
Like, wow, I've come into this world and the first person I see in the highest form of leadership looks like me. And little things like that, I think, are really what makes representation just incredibly important, and it can't be negated for anything, really. I think it's got to exist everywhere. I think we do a really good job of being represented in media, in sport, in TV, in music. But I think there's a misconception that all black people want to do that.
Exactly. You're either going to be a rapper, a footballer, or Maybe that's it.
Yeah, literally. And then if you're a black female, it's like, okay, what can you be?
Model.
And then it's like, okay, what other spaces do you exist in? And then trying to encourage young people or anyone really that actually you can exist anywhere and in any way. And the more people we see in different positions, so people, black women in architecture, black men in food, black women in gardening, black men in agriculture. Do you know, all of these different spaces where, for example, if you're a child that you don't really like creative arts, but you like numbers, okay, you can be an accountant and that's normal. You can be, as I said, in agriculture, or you can be in gardening, or you can be in produce, or you can be in food, or you can be in tech, or you can be in sport if you want. And I think just broadening the horizons and broadening the landscape of where black people can exist and the positive impact that they then have on just everyone around them, I think is really important.
That's beautiful. And like, not to discredit anyone that is a rapper,
absolutely
or a singer or sports star. Like, it's amazing, but I think we definitely need to diversify the options. And you've stressed that enough. So what would be your tips to any young black Brits that aspire to have that wild out there dream that no one else has done? Like, you know, I think you do and you don't have to break barriers and, you know, have firsts and all that kind of stuff. And we don't want to have pressure on black excellence, but it is nice to shout and scream about black excellence. So what would you say are your tips for anyone that is aspiring for doing more?
I think the first thing to identify is that your first, like the word first can mean so many different things. It doesn't necessarily have to be the first in the world, it could be the first in your world. So you could be the first in your family to go to uni. That's an incredible achievement. You could be the first in your family to own their own home. That's also an achievement. So not to get too bogged down. First of all, my advice would be not to get too bogged down about being the first ever black person to do this, because that pressure is a lot.
It's a lot, it's
that pressure's a lot, and it sounds all glamorous and lovely, but what it comes with is like this intense responsibility that not everybody's character can manage.
100%.
So I think the first thing is not to get bogged down with that, and also define first by your own definition.
Exactly.
And just allow yourself to be childlike. I think that's really important, in that for anyone, I think when we're children, we like innately gravitate towards particular things, whether it's nature or nurture. There are things that maybe at age 7 we knew that we really liked doing this thing. So for me, that was dance. So I always loved dancing. I was at dance class 5 days out of 7. I was always doing it, and then I kind of like time elapsed, and then I had this idea that dance wasn't a proper job.
Oh gosh, I hate that, the phrase proper job.
And I think there's so many people in the creative space go through that that transition of like, oh yeah, maybe I should just, you know, go and work here or go and work there. But like, everything that you're passionate about can be made into a quote unquote proper job.
Exactly.
So not to negate like what your true passions are, because anything can be monetized. Like, I think in the last 15 years, we've seen a real like change in like tech and things that can now be monetized, and I think there's a niche for everything. Like the fact that we've got like OnlyFans pages.
Like, she went for the OnlyFans.
I feel like if that is anything to go by, you can monetize anything.
100%.
You can monetize anything, and it's, again, not to negate anyone that's got an OnlyFans page, but the point is that there's nothing too big or too small that can't be made into something that you're then passionate about and you can live from.
Definitely. So what's your vision for In Other News moving forward? I mean, you've accomplished a lot. You've held events, the podcast, you know, lots of empowering posts, kind of inspiring the next generation. What are your aims with the brand and the organisation?
I think for me, the next stage is, it sounds, part of me feels like, oh, should I say this? But it literally is just continuing. I don't have a specific like, cool, this is what I'm doing next. Because sometimes I feel like that negates and that takes away from the journey of what's happening now. So in a lot of ways, for me, like the podcast is really important, and like jumping on Clubhouse as well, which is something that I'm really looking forward to start doing and hosting conversations there. And ultimately, like just doing whatever I need to do to stay true to the vision, which is like illuminate and highlight the plethora of Black Brits who are excellent in their own space, whether that looks like more events, whether that looks like increased podcast episodes, whether that looks like creative content, whether that looks like turning it into a creative agency, whether that looks like community outreach, whether that looks like philanthropy, like whatever it looks like. For me, I'm staying open to that part as long as I stay true to the first part, which is making sure that a positive light is shone on the various forms of Black excellence in this country.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, just the fact, and I'm saying thank you for doing this because it's so important that we continue to just give people opportunities, inspire them, and show them that there are other ways to achieve, I'm going to say, Black excellence. Like, it doesn't have to be conventional. You have to be an entrepreneur, millionaire, or anything like that. It can just be you living in your true purpose. And finally, just to kind of wrap this up and just kind of give you your flowers. Like, how does it feel to know that you have created this incredible brand that people can turn to and be inspired by and guided by?
The reason I say I don't know is because it doesn't always feel like that.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't always feel like that. And I think that is the one thing about the journey that I'm learning to accept, is that actually there's a lot of value in what I do, even though I feel like it's still very infant.
Yes, I get that.
And not attributing success to number or scale,
of course,
but more attributing it to impact. So even if one person watches an IG live, like I remember when we were in the height of COVID and the first lockdown, I had a live conversation I did a series on Instagram called Black in Quarantine, which you also joined.
It was amazing.
So it was literally 12 weeks of conversations with different Black Brits from different spaces around like how their personal and professional lives had changed over the pandemic. And the first conversation was the Broadcasters edition with Bissy Atkins, Jacqueline Specs and Julie Adenuga. And after the chat, this girl who I still don't know her to this day, messaged me and said that she'd lost a family member, and it was the anniversary of that family member on that day of that live. She also lives out of London. All her family lives in London, and she felt like she was getting COVID symptoms and just really felt really like distant and away from all of her close relatives. She'd been crying all day, but then somehow came across the Another News page, ended up tuning in just towards the end of Jack's conversation, and which led into Julie's, which was nuts because Julie is mad. But she's such a good time. But in that conversation, she was like, honestly, like, I don't know who you are. I've never heard of this before, but honestly, this was exactly the laugh I needed today. I've just felt so terrible like this whole week, and just coming across this was perfect timing, and I really appreciate like what you're doing, and stuff like that make me think, do you know what? Keep walking this way, like keep going, because, and that same girl messaged Julie as well, and Julie said to me, like, I got a similar message, blah, blah, blah. And it was really, it was really heartwarming, because I think in a lot of ways, in that particular instance, both of us didn't expect to get messages like that off the back of the type of conversation we were having. Like, we was just being silly and just laughing, and it wasn't deep, it wasn't emotional or anything like that. But I think what it was telling to is that you just never know where people are at. And you also never know how what you do can impact somebody else in a way that you just can't imagine. I would never think that. Like a conversation about like self-love and stuff like that, I think, okay, maybe someone might be touched. But just laughing and joking, depending on where people are at, like that's the thing that makes people feel most at home in themselves, or just like exhale. And I think that's what that did. And I think moving forward, I've just got to exhale more myself. And just allow everything to just pan out. But honestly, I think since turning 30,
revolutionary.
I really like what people say about when you turn 30, you start to feel a lot more at home in yourself, and just start to feel like the anxiety kind of goes away.
Definitely.
I genuinely feel that, and I genuinely feel like I'm so at ease with just how everything is panning out. I feel like everything's about timing and pace, and not to rush things. Definitely. I feel like, I for the first time in my life, I can genuinely say I'm not worried. Usually I'm like really worried about, what's gonna happen now? What's gonna happen now? Oh no, da-da-da-da. But now I just feel like
riding that 30 train. Yes.
Literally, did you feel like that when you turned 30?
100%. I felt ultimate gratitude for reaching a new level, reaching a new challenge, and just embracing being a woman.
Yeah.
That was amazing for me. So I totally agree with you. And yeah, let's keep riding that 30 train.
Honestly.
All you under 20, like 20 somethings, you're having a good time, but you'll see.
Yeah.
We do it differently.
Literally,
and
over this side, it's different.
And all of our elders, thank you for leading the way, because
100%.
you're showing us how to live life in your best life.
100%.
So yeah, I totally agree with you. And thank you so much for this space, for allowing us to be in this beautiful,
it's
beautiful
really lovely.
setting.
Thanks for coming to my home. I really appreciate it.
You did good, girl.
Thank you very much.
What's this, Central London?
In it. Can you imagine?
No, honestly, thank you so much. And like, just plug. Obviously, this is your platform, but plug it. This is what I'm learning over the last couple of weeks as well. Plug, sell, and just share your baby with everyone.
Yeah, so everything can be found on, I'm most active on Instagram. So the Instagram is In Other News UK, all one word, no hyphens, no spaces. The same on Twitter, so In Other News UK. The website is www.inothernews.uk. And yeah, like, just keep up with everything that we're doing.
Subscribe, like,
I
share.
forgot about all of that. Subscribe, like, share. I'll put the comments in the thing.
We got you.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been a real, like, amazing journey so far.
Yeah.
Simply because of the type of people that I've been just privileged to meet along the way. And it's just been really nice to know some just like, I genuinely do not say this with any like exaggeration, incredible Black Brits. Like, what we're doing in terms of creating space, opportunity, visibility, representation, all of that, it does not go unnoticed, I don't believe. And I think there's a new wave of just support that's happening. Yes. I think for 100. A long time it's been a little bit crabs in the bucket. Because
that's not even. It was like that. Yeah. But I think there's been an awakening that actually coming together does way more than fighting against each other. So
have you found that a lot in your industry?
I'll be honest, social media and like apps like Clubhouse and you know, creating multiple, you know, networking events and all that kind of stuff, I've realized that actually if you give people time and conversation, you realize that actually we can work, like there's work to be done. So I think it's all about having more conversations and just being open to listen. I think there's also having a sense of humility, but also, you know, wanting to share what you know as well. So that's what I've been learning a lot.
I think that's true. And also in light of sharing and wanting to learn, the mainstream is a great place to do that.
Thank you.
And after coming to, I think I've been to every event thus
far.
So, and it's just been a really nice space that doesn't feel like I'm keeping all the gems to myself. Because sometimes in networking events, you could really need something and someone's got the answer and they're like, do you know what? Yeah, you might want to. It's not helpful.
Like if you email them, no, how about I introduce?
And in that space, there is none of that. And you've got people from loads of different levels of professional, like from actors to people that screenwrite, to people that are in TV, to people that are just literally exactly what you say on the tin, all over the mainstream. So it's really nice, like what you're saying, to be in spaces now where it feels like actually we're not trying to hold on to the gems anymore. It's like, no, do you know what? Let me do the e-introduction. If you need anything else, I got you. If they say this, let me know, and then we can
For real. And you have been dropping gems today, letting the people know. Also, how can they follow you personally?
Forgot. My personal page is Canned Goods. So that's CANDGOODS _ on Instagram, and Canned Goods with no underscore on Twitter. I don't know whether I feel like that name's childish now. Do you think I need to change it?
I think it's wonderful. I think it shows you who you are, and you are bursting with all the goods. Like, I love it. It's your name, Candace, and you've got all the goods.
It's true.
In the most professional way.
It's true.
Absolutely, I love it. I absolutely love it.
I'll keep it. I'll keep it. I thought, my 30s, is it a bit young? Is it a bit?
Nah.
Okay.
It's fine, man. It's
Okay.
good. It's good. Keep
Brilliant.
it like that. Keep it real. 100.
Brilliant.
Now, honestly, thank you so much, Candace, for this conversation, for this space, for In Other News. And I wish you more than the best. I wish you prosperity, long life, wealth. I feel like I'm doing the most auntiness as possible, but that's exactly what I want for you. And thank you for just giving us so many opportunities to speak freely and enjoy the growth and enjoy the progress and process. So thank you.
I appreciate it very much, and thank you as
No
well.
worries.
I think for this, number one, but in a lot of ways for being such a trailblazer.
Oh.
No, honestly, because like you don't really, we can't really discuss like presenters in Black Britain without discussing Remel London.
Oh, thank you.
Like it's just not possible to have that conversation. So, and you've been in the game for such a long time.
Yeah.
And I think especially just as a sub point, as a brown skinned woman.
Sorry, something just flew past me, but it's probably the spirit catching me. I felt that one.
Yeah, I think as a brown skinned woman, like that representation of just being on screen so often just didn't really happen with us growing up.
I hear you.
So having you in those spaces and consistently and just being able to see your own personal elevation has been like, just beautiful to watch, honestly.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for your words. And again, thank you for just being a ray of sunshine, even on a grey London morning. It's really nice to just be able to have these kind of conversations, and you're a blessing. So thank you.
As are you.
Thank you.
And plug yourself as
yes,
well.
of course. You guys can follow me, Remel_London, on Twitter, Instagram. I also run the Mainstream UK. We're also on Twitter and Instagram. And hopefully, once outside is open, we'll be doing loads of events, networking opportunities, and In Other News and Mainstream collaboration is a must.
It's coming.
So, please do check us out, follow us, and thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, be a part of the movement, be a part of the celebration as well that we are doing every day. So thank you for watching. I've been Remel London. This has been the incredible Candace Oxley. Thank you for watching In Other News.
Amazing.
Yay! Did I forget?